Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the basic commands that you need to know to get started using the command line. Now, what is the command line? The command line lets you write commands directly to your computer so that you can navigate the files and folders in your computer without having to really rely on your mouse, all right? So one thing to keep in mind when it comes to using the actual command line is the commands that you enter, you can't undo. So you definitely want to make sure that you pay attention and you understand how each command works before you start using it on your computer. Now, the main way that you're going to be using the command line is to really just navigate the files and folders on your computer. Outside of that, as you learn more and more commands and you get further along in your software engineering career, you are going to be learning a lot more advanced commands that will help you to do a lot more than just simply navigate files and folders. But first, let's learn the basics. So how do we get to the command line? If you are on a MacBook, you can just search for a program called Terminal like this. If you are on a Windows computer, you can search for a program called Git Bash, right? Git Bash is typically what is called on Windows computers. All right, so this is the command prompt. Like, this is the terminal, and the command line is also known as the command prompt, the terminal, Git Bash. Like, all those names are referred to the same thing, just this interface where you are able to type commands directly to your computer and get information back. So let me make this bigger really quickly, just so we can see exactly what I'm typing. All right, so this is my terminal. The first command that I'm gonna be teaching you guys is a command called pwd, right? So let me just type this here, pwd. So this stands for print working directory, and this is lowercase. All right, print working directory. And what is a directory? A directory is a folder, right? So this command is going to tell us where we currently are in our computer right now in this terminal. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to type pwd and press enter. So that is not going to show you that you see that I am in my users folder, in my T-O-Y-N-E like users folder, right? So basically I have a profile set up for me, TJ, on my computer, and this profile is one of the users that's on this computer. So basically I am inside of the T-O-Y-N-E folder inside of a bigger users folder. All right. So print working directory is always going to tell you exactly where you currently are, or it is going to tell you the exact file path that you are in the terminal. So the next command that you need to know is a command called ls. So if I come here, ls stands for list directory. So this command is going to list out all the files and folders inside of the current folder that you're in. So if I go back to my terminal and I type ls and I press enter, you see that inside of my T-O-Y-N-E folder, I have all of these other folders, right? And I'm sure that all of this looks familiar to you, because if I was to just use my finder, it would show me all these folders like my desktop, my downloads folders, you know, pictures, etc., right? So ls, that command stands for list directory. That is going to list all the files and folders inside of the current directory that you're in. And remember, that term directory just means folder, all right? And we are currently in this folder up here. So how do you change from one folder to the next, right? Like, how do you move from one folder to the next? So let's say that I want to go into my desktop folder, right? The command for that is cd. So if I come here, and cd stands for change directory. And let me just put all these commands are lowercase, right? So cd stands for change directory. And the way that you use it is that you type cd, but don't press enter, right? Because this command needs to know what folder you're trying to go into. So I'm trying to go into my desktop folder. So I'm going to type out desktop and then I'm going to press enter. You see that? So cd, like, change directory into my desktop directory, right? So as you can see now, I am inside of my desktop folder. And remember the past commands that we used before, pwd, right? So let's try using pwd again now. And you see that this file path has now updated to now let you know that we are currently inside of the desktop folder that is inside of the T-O-Y-N-E folder that is inside of the users folder. All right, so cd is how you move forward into another folder. What if you want to exit? Well, you have cd ... This means go back, right? So if I press enter, you see, boom, I'm now back where I started, right? So let's go back into the desktop folder. So I'm going to do CD desktop and press enter, and I am back in my desktop folder. And let's see what files and folders do I currently have in my desktop, right? And you can see my desktop right now, right? Like right now, I just have these two files, this temp folder and this desktop folder up here. Those are the only two folders that are currently on my desktop right now. So let's see if me typing ls is gonna give me the same information. Just so, you know, since you have the visual here on my actual desktop, you know, it's good for you to see what typing ls is actually gonna show you as well. So if I type ls, and boom, that's it, right? And you have this temp folder and you also have this desktop folder here, right? The same folder is this folder that is up here on the top right on my desktop. So remember, ls stands for list directory. This will show you all the files and folders that are currently in the folder that you're in. And what folder are we currently in? We are currently in our desktop folder. And how do we tell that? By typing pwd. PWD will let us know where we are currently at inside of our terminal. So the next command is basically, how do we create our own folder, right? Let's say that we want to create a folder called test folder, right? You know, or folder one. The command that you use is this command here called make directory. Make directory. This is how you create another folder, right? So if I come here, mkdir, right? mkdir, and I type the name of the folder that I want to create. So I'm going to put folder one, and I press enter. Do you see how that just showed up on my desktop right here? Folder one, right? And if I type ls inside of my terminal, I should see folder one inside of this response as well, right? So let me type ls, and boom, you see, I have folder one now showing up as one of the folders that's currently on my desktop. So next, how do we create files using the terminal? Well, the command to create a file is touch. So let me go here and let me write this out. Touch creates an empty file. So let's say that we want to create HTML file, and let's call that file test.html, right? So we'll come here and we type touch. And remember, you have to tell it, this touch command, when you use it, you have to specify the name of the file that you want to create. So let's name this file test.html. All right. So we are going to call this file test.html, and let's click enter. So you see that created this file here. So again, if I do ls, that is now going to show you that we now have another file here. So this is my folder, this is my file. So touch is how you create an empty file. And the reason that I had you name this file test.html is so that I can show you another command. How do we use the terminal to change the name of a file? If you want to make a career switch and become a software engineer, you need three things. One, you need a heavily project-based coding curriculum to give you hands-on experience. Two, you need a mentor to help guide you whenever you get stuck and need help. And three, you need an accountability partner to help you to stay committed in the process. Those are the three things that I help the students with in my coding bootcamp. So if you're ready to commit to making a career change, comment below learn to code, and I'll send you the link to learn more. So that's where we have this command move. So move is used to move a file or folder from one location to the next, or to rename a file or folder. All right. So move has two functionalities: to move a file or folder from one location to the next, or to rename a file or folder. And I'm gonna show you how to use move to do both, right? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to rename this test.html file and rename it to index.html, right? Because index.html is the name of pretty much every homepage, because index.html is the file name given to the homepage of every website. All right. So if we want to do that now, follow along with me on this. When we type move, then we type the current file name as is, right? So this is test.html. Then you do spacebar, and you now write the file name that you want to change it to. And we want to change it to index.html. So you see, this is our command here, move. And we want to rename this file, test.html, from test.html. We want to rename it to index.html. So if you kind of think about it, right, is we want to move this file from this to this. If I click enter, then you see right then and there that this file name has now been updated. You see that, right? This file is now called index.html. So up next, how do we use move to move this file from one location to the next? So let's say that we want to move this index.html file from my desktop folder, which is currently in. We want to move it into our folder 1 folder. So what we would do is to use that move command again and type the name of the current file. And now we have to type the folder that we want to move it into. So it's folder 1. And if we click enter and we do ls, then we'll now see, right? Index.html is no longer there. So let's go see if it's inside of our folder 1. So how do we move from one folder to the next? We use the command cd, right? So let's now cd into our folder 1 folder. So let's cd into there. And if we do pwd again, remember pwd tells us the current file path that we are currently at. It basically tells us where we are at in our terminal. So if I press enter, you will now see that I am inside of the folder 1 folder that's inside of my desktop folder, that's inside of my etc. etc. All right. So now that I'm inside of my folder 1 folder, I'm going to do ls so that I can see what is inside of this folder. So if I do ls, boom, I'll see that, oh, this folder now has my index.html file in there. And that's exactly what we wanted, right? And a quick command that I'm going to show you is how to actually open files and folders from the terminal. So the command for that is just simply open. And I hate this autocomplete here, but yeah, so open opens up files and folders. All right, so let's say that we want to open up this index.html file in the browser. How can we use the terminal to open up this file? Now, keep in mind, this file doesn't have any content in it at all right now, right? So it doesn't have any code. So I basically expect to see just a blank screen. But I can tell that we are inside of this index.html file just by the URL in the browser, okay? So I expect this open command to open up this index.html file in the browser because this is an HTML file. This file is used and viewed in the browser, all right? So if I press open index.html and I press enter, you see, it now opens up this file in the browser. And how do we tell? By looking here. Do you see the actual URL that we're in? And let me just minimize this real quick just so everyone can see. So this is the file path of the file that we are currently viewing right now in the browser, right? So you see this is our index.html file that's inside of our folder 1 folder, inside of our desktop, inside of my users folder, all right? So now, how do we use our terminal to delete a file? So that's where this command comes in, remove, delete a file. So if we want to delete our index.html, we will use the remove command. Now, keep in mind, remember, this is your terminal. You are writing commands directly to your computer. So when you execute a command, there's no undoing it. All right, like you can't undo commands, right? So when it comes to deleting stuff, just be careful and make sure that you specify an actual file or folder name when you are deleting something. Okay, so let's say here, let me do ls once again to see the actual folder that I'm in, and I want to delete this file. So I'm going to do remove, and I need to tell this command what I want to remove, right? So I need to specify the actual file name, and that is index.html. So if I click enter, right? And then I do ls again. Remember, ls stands for list directory, right? It's going to show me the files and folders in the current folder that I'm in. So when I press enter, nothing, right? Because there is nothing in this folder 1 folder anymore, all right? So how do you delete a folder? Because you can't use remove for it. I mean, you have to use a slightly different command, or something in addition to remove. So if I want to delete the folder 1 folder, I first need to exit the folder. So how do we exit and go back? Remember that cd ... right? So cd spacebar ... I press enter, and that moves me back. And let me just make sure that I have this command here. So cd ... used to exit a folder / go back. All right, let me put a space. All right, so we are back inside of the desktop folder. And if I do ls again, I'll see that I have my folder 1 folder here, my temp folder, and my MacBook Pro folder. All right. And I want to delete my folder 1 folder. The command that I'm going to use now, be very careful with this command. All right. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just be careful, because you can't undo it. Right. So don't press enter until I tell you to. All right. Don't press enter until I tell you to, man. Hey, good news. I finally opened up my mentorship program to people outside of my coding bootcamp. So if you've ever wanted to work with me as your mentor, now's a good time to start. Comment below mentor and I'll send you the link to learn more. I tell you to. Matter of fact, here, let me just type out the command here first. So that command to delete a folder and everything inside of it, that command is rm spacebar and then the -rf. So this command deletes the folder, deletes the folder and everything inside of it. Be careful, can't undo. All right, so just make sure you specify exactly what you want to delete before you press enter here. So I'm gonna type this command, rm-rf spacebar. I want to delete my folder 1 folder. All right, I'm gonna press enter, and I'm sure that you already saw it delete from here, right? But if we do ls again, you see that that folder is now gone. All right, and that's it. Like, those are the absolute basics to help you to get started using the command line. And if I were you, I would just create some like flashcards for these commands and just review this a couple times a day for like 2 weeks or something, and start to actually introduce this into your workflow as you are learning to code and building apps and projects. All right, start to use the command line to navigate between files and folders instead of using your mouse. All right, and that'll help you to just start getting a lot more comfortable with this. And to be on the safe side, you can still just use your mouse to like delete stuff until you feel really comfortable. All right, and that's it. Check the description. I'm going to include an extra resource to help you to kind of review all these commands as well. And let me just do a quick recap too, right? So when it comes to the command line, these are some of the basic commands that you need to know. pwd is used to print the working directory. And remember, a directory is a folder, right? So pwd tells you the current file path that you're on. It tells you exactly where you're at on your computer, all right? The next command, ls. ls stands for list directory. This lists all the files and folders in the current directory. List all the files and folders in the current directory. All right, this command is going to show you everything inside of the folder that you're currently in. All right, cd stands for change directory, right? So this is how you move from one folder into another folder. And cd ... you see these 2 dots? This means go back. This means to exit the current folder, right? So this is gonna, if you're currently in one folder, instead of moving forward, it's gonna move back and exit that folder, all right, back into the parent folder. And then mkdir, make directory. So this is used to create an empty folder. So this is how you create a new folder. Make directory, mkdir. All right. Touch is used to create an empty file. And then MV stands for move. So move is used to move a file or folder from one location to the next, or it is used to rename a file or folder. All right. And move has this syntax, right? So syntax, move current file or folder, new file or folder. All right. So you basically type the command move, then you always put the current file or folder that you're trying to move or rename. Then you put the new location or the new name of that file and folder. Then you press enter. Okay. And now open is pretty self-explanatory. Open is used to open a file or folder, right? So when you type open, you now have to tell it what file or folder you want to open. And then RM is used to delete a file. Now this is pretty safe. I mean, once you delete a file, I mean, you obviously can't get it back. All right. But RM is used to delete a file. RM-RF is used to delete a folder and everything inside of that folder. Okay. Be careful. Remember, anytime that you're doing any kind of delete operation, you can't undo stuff. All right. And that's it. These are the basics that you need to know to get started using the command line. So hopefully when you found this helpful, comment below to let me know if you did find this helpful actually. And make sure you check the description for more resources to help you learn the command line.